All right, we are here at the range today. We are trying out a new one. This is a little Ruger LCP II in 22 LR. I decided a while back to get one of these. They have been unavailable until recently. So now that they're available again, I decided I'd pick me one up. This is based upon the 380, but this is a 22 LR with a 10+1 capacity, 10 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. Very small package. I am anxious to check on the reliability of this. It says to use only high velocity ammo, but from what I understand, everybody's pretty much been having a whole lot of good luck with the reliability of these shooting standard velocity ammo. Now, I will tell you the high velocity ammo that I have with me today is a Win Crapster Super X 40 grain at 1,290 feet per second, which out of this little thing would probably be 1,000 feet per second. But you're going to get to witness the first shot. This is the first shot I've ever shot with this today. So, or since I bought it, really. I went and picked it up yesterday and didn't have an opportunity to come and shoot it, so, which is very unusual for me. I'm going to try to put a couple hundred rounds through it today, and I thought I'd bring you all along with me. First shot. Okay, that doesn't bode very well for either the gun or the Win Crapster ammo. And doesn't look like it's the gun's fault. Primer had a pretty good strike, so let's try it again. So the Win Crapster appears to have given me another crappy round. And now it's not going to extract. It's not a good sign. Let's just try to hit that round again and see if it fires. All right, I must not be holding on. Oh, I had the safety on. Excuse me. All right, so 2 strikes. The ammo did not fire. Definitely. Let's see where the camera lens actually is. Can you see that? Really good strike on that primer. Slide locked open. That's a good sign. Got that first one here that didn't go. I'm going to line it up a little different and strike a different edge. Okay, so that tells us that definitely was the ammo. These days, whenever I'm firing Win Crapster ammo, nothing ever surprises me. The only thing I found to be worse in the rimfire world is Crappington, which you may know as Remington ammo. I call it Crappington because it's actually worse than Wind Crapster. It seems the only American-made ammo you can get rimfire today that's reliable and isn't made by CCI is Federal. And Federal ammo does what it says it will do. And generally their bulk ammo, Federal's bulk ammo, is as reliable as any of the premium 22 ammo that Wind Crapster and Crappington make. Though I hate to waste this, I'm going to contrast that with some CCI mini mags and show you the difference between Wind Crapster and what I'm going to call standard quality CCI ammo. Because your standard should be to produce ammunition that actually works. That should be the standard. So, all right. Now, mind you, I haven't fired any CCI in this little pistol yet. But I believe I know how it's going to perform as opposed to the Wind Crapster. Hold on. I did have one failure to fire. It fired that time, so we may need to put a few through here. That definitely performed a lot better than the Wind Crapster. Now you're not supposed to fire this old crappy bulk ammo in these. Well, it's not that you're gonna can't fire it. It's just that it says it will perform best with high velocity premium ammo. Well, you know what doesn't? I want to see if this thing's going to run with cheap ammo, and if it doesn't, I'm going to make it where it will. I realize most people might not have the know-how of what to tweak and you know, a little polishing here, a little tweaking there, and but I have, give you an example, I have done some tweaking to an HP 22, which is a Phoenix, made by Phoenix, and that little Phoenix, that was basically won at an NRA, Friends of the NRA event. And it'll cycle with anything you feed it, and it does so reliably. And it's not much bigger than this one. It is heavier by a long shot. Let's see how it does with some of this old Federal bulk ammo. One failure to fire in there. I do want to quantify that I may have done a better job in getting the oil off of this thing. I did take it apart before I brought it out here, but mostly I was worried about, you know, obstructions in the bore and too much grease or anything, grease or oil in the bore. I didn't really pay any attention to the striker channel, and it may just have some oil in there. We need to, you know, warm up and let it run out of there. It may be causing, believe it or not, if you fill a striker channel or a firing pin channel with oil, you can create hydraulic back pressure. And time will tell if that's what's going on here, because as I heat this little gun up, that oil will run out of there. Actually feel the lead standing. It's action to open, gun's empty. I can actually feel the lead standing out of the barrel, and I am going to guess that the rifling is completely leaded up in this little gun. Because I just fired 10 rounds at a steel plate that's probably about 10 or 12 yards away, and I didn't hit it not one time. So I'm going to guess that the rifling is completely leaded up. And you need to understand that when you get a new gun, you know, I talked about that, the tooling chatter and things like that. And that is definitely possible that a brand new barrel has some small microscopic imperfections in it. And when you scrub it with a bore brush, you know, 10 or 15 times after subsequent shootings, all those are gone. And it considerably cuts down on your leading. But two of the bullet types that I've been shooting today are just plain lead. They don't have a copper jacket on them like these do. So leading up the barrel is a distinct possibility. I can tell you about a good deal I got on a pistol one time. I'm going to really take my time and try to hit that plate. I put up a paper target, and I'm going to show you what I mean by the barrel being leaded. The only one I got on the paper was this one. And can you see that there's another bullet hole there that's not mine. But the 22 that hit actually hit the paper sideways. So that tells me that all the rifling in my barrel is completely filled with lead. So shooting beyond this point is fruitless. I need to take this home, give it just a good old school scrubbing, get it good and cleaned out, and I will shoot some more with it at a later date, and I'll show you the difference. I can tell you from the accuracy of what I was shooting compared to now, it's a pretty straight shooting little gun. And now I'm not able to hit like an 8-inch plate at 12 yards. So one of those that I shot at the head of that paper target, I actually seen hit the ground behind it which is hard to see it hit the ground now because the ground is moist, so there's no dust. But I actually saw one hit the ground, and I actually shot about a foot high and a foot right. So any further shooting with this gun is just a waste of time. I have found a few things that I'm going to tweak a little bit. I'm going to get me some J&B bore paste. Once I get all this lead out, I'm going to get some good old J&B bore paste and give that barrel a going over just like I would one of my target rifles that I was breaking in, which will help. It's an emulsified, just a very fine abrasive. I hate to even call it like a lapping compound because lapping compounds are pretty radical. That J&B bore paste is old school stuff, and it works. You know, when you think you've got a high-powered rifle barrel that's shot out, you can, if you've never J&B bore pasted, trust me, do what the label says, and you will get a lot more years out of the use of that rifle. And oh, look at there, the sun's coming out. So I'm going to go home and give this a cleaning, and we'll come back and finish this at a later date. Thanks for hanging.
Finally able to get back to this today. I think where we left this was with this little handgun so leaded up that it was throwing bullets sideways at about 3 or 4 feet. So it was absolutely, the rifling absolutely caked with lead. I took it apart and cleaned the barrel with Croil and JB bore paste from Brownells. Gave it a good scrubbing, and I mean, it was a mess. And I got it cleaned out, and if you're not familiar with JB bore paste, people use it to break in new rifle barrels, and I've got a CMP issued or commemorative AR-15 that I bought from the CMP, and when I first got it, I used a JB bore bright, which is the same thing, just a little different formulation for a brand new barrel. And prior to breaking that gun in, I would use sometimes 20 or 30 patches during the break-in process to get that gun clean. And as I kept using during the break-in process, and I've still got all of it written in the book that goes with the rifle. Every shot ever fired through that rifle is recorded in that book, and how it was cleaned. And after the proper break-in of that AR-15, I could get that bore clean. First of all, I shot the best group that I've ever shot in my life with that rifle in a high-power rifle match. And once it was broken in, and I could literally get that gun clean with about 5 patches. The bore was almost mirror bright when you look down it. Well, that's the process I've started on this little one. Okay, you can see I have a different colored trigger in here. I have a red anodized aluminum trigger rather than the black polymer one that was in here from Ruger. I'm going to explain that a little bit. I had misfires with this gun, and to be quite honest, I even had an inordinate amount of misfires with CCI and with federal ammo. It wasn't just the Wind Crapster and the Crappington ammo. Though the Federal and the CCI did better, I still had some misfire. So I was not convinced that the gun wasn't at least partially responsible. And when I got home and got all the lead cleaned out, I looked at the firing pin channel. There was no grease or oil in there. There was really, it worked smooth. I didn't detect any, any burrs or anything in there that might be slowing up the travel of the firing pin or soaking up a little energy from the hammer strike. So I looked online and ordered that spring kit from Galloway Precision. What it consists of is an increased power hammer spring, a reduced power firing pin spring, and a increased power extractor spring. Because you may hear me say on the video that I had a couple that didn't extract. Now this wasn't while firing. While firing, it extracted perfectly, but when removing a misfired cartridge out of the chamber, I had to hold a lot of pressure on the front of the extractor and pull it to the rear to drag that unfired shell out of the chamber. So I will tell you that since I was buying the spring kit, they had this new trigger, which I probably could have done without, but it was 36 bucks. I mean, a new good-looking trigger like that with a trigger stop function built into it, which is a little bit better than the stop built into the trigger guard of the gun. I thought, hey, what the heck, 36 bucks. If it had been 86 bucks, I wouldn't have bothered doing it, but I figured, hey, 36 bucks, I'm in. And their spring kit was about 20 bucks. And I took this thing apart, and of course, being as I'm doing a video, I don't have any live ammo here. And that's the way we do this. And you'll notice with no magazine here. You with me? Okay, let me take the safety off. Lord have mercy. No magazine. Okay, so putting your new trigger in, you can dispose of this stupid magazine disconnect. I hate them. Y'all know this. If I die and you buy a gun from me, from my estate, and it's a model that had a magazine disconnect, know this, it will not have a magazine disconnect. Now, when I sell one, I'll put it back stock. But obviously, if I die and you buy one from my estate that I wasn't able to put it back stock before I sold it, know this, the magazine disconnect is not going to work, because I think that's probably one of the stupidest things that gun manufacturers are doing today, and it's very dangerous in my opinion. So that being said, I noticed, and I'm not going to show you how to change all this. You can go to the Galloway Precision YouTube page, and they'll show you how to do this. But I will say on their model, they even leave this safety out. And the gun functions just fine. And I tried it myself, and it functions just fine. And with that increased hammer spring, my gosh, I don't know what that pull is right now, but this safety here is kind of worthless, because you're not going to accidentally pull this trigger with that increased power hammer spring. And this gun functions like a totally different gun now. Like I said, the spring kit is a $20 upgrade. Now, it's a shame that you have to buy a new gun from Ruger and immediately spend $20 on a spring kit for it to run. And I don't know if I just got a lemon or if that's indicative of how they're making them now. I've heard other people on YouTube say, oh man, mine run fine. Well, good for you. Mine didn't. And it does, now that I put that Galloway Precision spring kit in here. Like I say, the trigger was just an extra thing I did. It looked good, and it was only 36 bucks, and I was going to be in there anyway. Why not? So I kept all the original parts. I, of course, did away with the magazine disconnect safety. I think that's the stupidest thing in the world. This gun is okay to dry fire per the owner's manual. And why would you want to have a magazine around when you're dry firing? That's beyond me. And like I said, this little safety right here, mainly all it does is it insets itself. It inserts, when you pull the pins on this gun and you pull the frame, the metal frame, out of the polymer lower, for a better, lack of a better description. When you pull that metal frame out of there, this safety just falls off. All it does is put itself in the way of the things that work when you push it forward or when you pull it backward. It just puts itself directly in the way so that you can't pull the trigger. But I'm telling you, with that new increased hammer spring, gotta be, I haven't put it on a scale, gotta be 12, 13, 14 pounds. You're not gonna accidentally pull this trigger. But again, you do what you think you need to do. You ain't me. I'm not giving you any advice. You'll notice I put my safety back on there. But I will tell you this. A lot of times when you go to reload, me being a left-hander, I always use the slingshot method. You know, point the ejection port toward the ground, pull that back, and see, doing that by not paying attention, I have activated this safety. So, and it's just not very ergonomic. You can't, like other safeties Ruger makes, you know, that crazy one they got with the SR22, you actually have to push it up. It's a frame mounted safety, but you have to push it up to make the gun ready to fire. So it's counterintuitive to everything you've ever learned. If you've shot a 1911 for years like me, and you let your thumb ride on that safety, that one on the SR22 is counterintuitive. This one is counterintuitive. You pull it to the rear to engage, and you push it forward to disengage. Well, if you're a left-hander, good luck doing that with one hand. You absolutely cannot do it and maintain a firing grip. And with a trigger that is as stout as this one is at its breaking point, I think it's worthless as tits on a board, to be honest with you. You have more of a chance of it being on when you don't need it to be than it creating problems because it was not on. Okay, so that's my opinion. Ruger knows best. They're engineers. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm not anything. So don't take my word for anything. You do it to suit yourself because you're responsible for what you do, and I'll be responsible for what I do with mine. Okay. That being said, now that I've done all that to this, this is a pretty cool little gun. Would I trust my life to it? No. Would I drop it in my pocket if I was wearing my Glock 48 or my Glock 19 and just drop this in as a backup? Yeah, I'd probably be okay with that. But I think this is probably a really good trainer for new shooters, and that's really what I wanted it for, to start somebody out on a handgun that's about the size of some of our smaller self-defense style handguns. That was the attraction for me, and so that's what I'm going to use it for. And just general plinking. Y'all know I love 22s, and that's what it's going to be to me, a plinking gun and a you know, a starter gun for somebody who's new to this. And with that trigger pull the way it is, they're really going to have to learn to concentrate on keeping those sights on target during their follow through, because it's a pretty stout little trigger now. And to be honest with you, if I was going to drop it in my pocket or something, that's the way I'd prefer it. I don't want a hair trigger on a small gun like this. Just very unsafe. So by all means, if you're going to get one of these, plan on spending the 20 bucks on the Galloway Precision spring kit. And I think it will do you okay if you've got in mind to do with it what I'm going to do with it. I don't think, and you can watch, you know, after you've watched the first of this video, you realize that rimfire cartridges are very, very unreliable. Even the best that you can get, everything has to go just about perfect for one of those things to fire and to continue to run. And I will say that straight from the factory, when this fired, it ran pretty flawlessly. I did have a couple of instances where it failed to go into battery, but I think that's because of where my lead in my rifling from the chamber to where the rifling began. I believe it got so leaded up that was keeping it from setting fully into battery. I don't think that's the fault of the gun. Once I come home, scrubbed it, put this new spring kit in, and carried it back out, shot it, it did absolutely fine. So I hope this was a help, and y'all just keep watching. Every time I say I'm going to start doing videos more often, tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to start duplicating the new videos I put up, and I'm going to put them on Rumble. And I hope that if you care to watch anything I do, you go to Rumble, because that's where we're all going to end up, because YouTube is insane. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.